Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching Diplomatic Channel. Staying with the Brexit, is it such a bad decision for Britain, for the European Union, and for us in Nigeria? I don't have the answers. Hopefully my guest, Dr. David Awarawo, does. Now that the news has died down some, was this a smart move by Britain, the Brexit?
Certainly not. Certainly not, because, of course, the aftermath has revealed very clearly that it wasn't, a smart move. It is clear now that it's a vote for recession, a vote for a shrinking economy, probably even a vote for this disintegration of the United Kingdom. So certainly it was not a smart move. It is clear that many of those who voted voted out of passion, voted out of, from incomplete information, voted without analyzing what they presented to them. And many of them have come to say, oh, we regret what we did.
But one of the issues was, of course, immigration, which is one of the reasons, because Britain said they wanted to have more control over their borders. In the end, do you think this was just a selfish move by some politicians in Britain, or was this really a nationalistic process or point of view by the leaders of the Leave campaign?
A bit of both. There were leaders who wanted political opportunity, wanted to, profit from the referendum, selfishly. There were also those who were selfish, who thought, let us gain our country back. But if you look at the statistics, there are 3 million EU citizens living in Britain. But there are also 1.2 million British living in different, EU countries. It is true there is some justification for the fear of immigrants coming in, because in recent times the number has gone up. 2015, 285,000, immigrants from the EU countries came into the UK, whereas only 85,000, UK citizens moved out to the EU. So you could see, the apprehension here and there. But in integration, you always make sacrifices. Just like anything, even when you take medicine. You take medicine because the negative impact will be less than, the benefits. In integration, you make sacrifices, you make concessions. These are part of sacrifices that, have to be made. But in the end, the gains that come to the EU, to the UK, to Britain, far outweigh the, sacrifices, so to speak.
But is it possible that we're just looking at the immediate aftermath of the Brexit? Is it possible that, things could pick up, in the near future or over the next few months as Britain prepares to leave?
There are no concrete reasons to believe that. Well, of course, just the day after the pound went down by 9%, the stock exchange 3%, and even outside the United Kingdom, we saw the aftermath volatility and all that. These are not things that seem to be ephemeral developments. And it is easy to establish when you look at countries outside the EU. Are they doing better than the ones in the EU? Britain is the the United Kingdom is the 5th largest economy in the world. In the next couple of months, it will certainly fall down to at least 6th, if not 7th or 8th, because France is very close. And with the 9% fall in the pound, which by all indications is going to increase anytime, pick up anytime soon, the stock exchange going down 3%, maybe even worse in the next couple of months, France will overtake Britain as the 5th biggest economy. So there is no indication to establish that, oh, this is just some transient development, and then Britain will pick up, the United Kingdom will pick up very shortly, and the El Dorado, the vision of many people preached before the referendum will manifest itself.
As you rightly mentioned, Britain is an integral part of the European Union. Taking that out is like taking 1/6 of the European Union out. Do you think the EU can recover from this Brexit?
The EU will certainly be negatively impacted by the exit of Britain, which is why you could see anger, across the EU. But it seems to me that the EU will survive. This negative impact will continue for a couple of months, but it seems to me that the EU will survive. Now, the negative impact of the Brexit on Britain will likely send the message to the rest member countries that it makes more sense to be together than to disintegrate. And to me, that will even fuel a stronger commitment for the EU to survive. And when you also look at the United Kingdom itself, Scotland is already speaking, along the line of, look, if the United Kingdom is pulling out of the EU, we will pull out of the United Kingdom because we want to remain in the EU. Movements like this, moves like this, decisions like this, will likely impact positively on the EU. Certainly, where we are now, the impact will be negative for the next couple of months. But it seems to me that the EU will come stronger from the Brexit.
One of the effects of this Brexit is Switzerland, which is not a member of the European Union, but was in the process of sending in its application to become a member of the EU. But with the Brexit, it has withdrawn its application. And can Britain get to the position that Switzerland is in now, being able to stand on its own as an island, as some people have said, an island on its own without the support of the European Union? Because, of course, it won't get access to a single currency market anymore. Those are some of the downsides and so on, and so many limitations for the country.
Yes, agreements, the United Kingdom remains part of Europe, an important part of that. And the 2-year, after the Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty is, invoked, and negotiations will go on regarding the way forward. The United Kingdom will still continue to trade with the rest of the EU. Some concessions will be granted here and there. New agreements will be, negotiated and all. But there's no way it will be as things were before. Let me just give a simple example. Many manufacturing companies in the United Kingdom are apprehensive because the EU has, a uniform standard. Goods that meet this standard can go anywhere within the EU. Now, with Brexit, goods manufactured in the United Kingdom will be subjected to, additional scrutiny because they are not members of the EU. And that would, complicate the capacity for United Kingdom to export its products to other European countries.
Is it possible that there could also be a lack of confidence here in Africa with Britain because of the Brexit?
Yes, there could be. Integration in Africa has been, less than impressive. ECOWAS, after so many years, the trade figures are still less than 10%. South Africa Development Community is a lot better, but then it is still not very impressive. So the Brexit could, impact negatively on the enthusiasm for integration.
What's the lesson here for Nigeria?
The lesson here for us is, first, not to make hasty decisions. Second, to be perceptive. If somebody comes to tell you this and that will happen, ask him why, ask him how, ask him to give you, evidence for what they are saying. Because clearly, many of those who voted to, exit from the EU are now regretting because they didn't process the information they received. They just, joined the bandwagon, and here we are. The day after, many of them are regretting. Meanwhile, we have not seen anybody, at least not as much as we know, who voted, that the UK should remain in the EU, who is regretting, oh, why did I vote that the UK should remain? Yeah. That shows something, that we should not be hasty in making decisions. It's as simple as that. And, let me just add something. If you look at the figures of how people voted, people from 60 and above, 60% of them voted to leave. Probably have some nostalgia of how Britain was before, they joined the EU. But of course, times have changed. What the world was in the 1970s is not what it is now.
Coming up after the break, will the Brexit affect Europe's migrant crisis? Do stay with us.